Hey everyone, geophysicist Stefan Burns here. Breaking news, there has just been a magnitude 6.7 earthquake in Indonesia, east in the trough in the Banda Sea. So it's actually really close to Papua New Guinea, Indonesia, and Australia. And this is the biggest earthquake that has occurred in 2 months, going back all the way to May 2nd with the 7.4 earthquake in the Drake's Passage. Here we see the location of this, and this is a significant earthquake. And we have been forecasting for there to be a much higher probability and possibility of there being a high magnitude earthquake yesterday, today, tomorrow, effectively, because of the space weather. And that space weather in particular is this massive coronal hole on the sun, as we can see here with our combined 211 and 171 angstrom view of the sun. This combined view allows us to not only see this deficiency of plasma in the outer atmosphere of the sun, which is called the corona. Therefore, that's a hole in the corona. It's not a hole that goes all the way through the sun. Just keep that in mind. But it also allows us to see all the activity from the sunspots on the sun right now, of which there are a lot, and some of them are actually getting kind of big. So not only did we just have this high-speed stream impact hit the Earth, increasing geomagnetic volatility, we had 3 hours of G1 storming. It was not a big geomagnetic storm, but we did get a big earthquake right in that time window, as we discussed literally in yesterday's video. In fact, as we've been discussing on this channel for months now. So anyone that's been around for a while, especially back in March, we were talking about coronal holes and big earthquakes frequently. And specifically, this coronal hole here has been on the sun, I think it's 11 or 12 times now. It's one of the two. I keep forgetting to do the counting. But it's 11 or 12 times now. It's been on the sun since October. The seventh rotation of this coronal hole also had this trans-equatorial component to it. It looked different, but you know, these things transform and morph with time. That was something that we were looking at very closely on this channel back in March, mid to late March. And we were putting out, videos saying, hey, like, we're probably going to get a big earthquake from that because of the history of the correlation, and also it's probably not correlation, probably causation to some degree. Of course, earthquakes have a lot of different factors feeding into them. And well, on March 28th, we had a magnitude 7.7. That was the biggest earthquake that we've had this year, the biggest earthquake since February 6th of 2023. And that was because of this coronal hole, or at least that was a big component leading to the rupture of that fault. Then we had a magnitude 7.4, Drake's Passage, May 2nd. That's the last big earthquake. This is the biggest earthquake we've had since May 2nd. It's been more than 2 months at a depth of 65.7 kilometers. So quite far down there. And this is an interesting location because we see this, this trench here, small subduction zone, Banda Sea, a lot of interesting things in this area. And we haven't been having a lot of earthquake activity until this earthquake there. Now, the way earthquake energy scales is this is by far the biggest release of energy that we've had since May 2nd in a single location. But before this earthquake had occurred, we've been having earthquake swarm here. We've been having earthquake on and off kind of activity along this subduction zone there for Japan. We have been having some also further north and near Kamchatka. We've been having earthquake activity a little bit around in and around Taiwan. If we go over, we've been having this earthquake swarm over here next to the Nicobar Islands, and that is near the location of that magnitude 9 that occurred in 2004. We've had earthquake swarming off the coast of the Philippines, right around this zone here. Not swarming, but multiple magnitude 6s and 6.1s around there. 6.2 I think was also one of them. And then we've had some earthquakes here, like a cluster of 5s that occurred not too long ago, just a few days ago, right here near Papua New Guinea. And we've been having a lot of activity in the Kermadec Trench, Tonga, and Vanuatu, and also south of New Zealand has some significant activity. So basically the entire ring of fire on the western side has been experiencing slip, and one piece may move and then some other adjoining piece may undergo its slip and its rupture a few days later. They've all been effectively working together in that way. This part was getting a little stuck up, and now it has released with a 6.7. A lot of people are looking at Japan very closely because, well, Japan is the most seismically active country on the planet. And there is just a big fear of a high magnitude earthquake there. That 9.1 in 2011 was very, very large and catastrophic for many people. And there is a very high probability that we get another magnitude 8.5 or greater, even magnitude 9 in this zone in the next 30 years. And right now there is this manga prophecy for July 2025 of there being some sort of volcano seismic event that generates a very large tsunami. And this whole area is littered with underwater volcanism and volcanoes. So there's a lot hidden under the surface that we do not know. A lot of secrets in the deep abyss. And this manga prophet, Ryo Tsuzuki, she has been right many times before with significant events. So it's not like she's just some random person who put out an idea for the first time. She's been wrong. She has been wrong before with a few dates, but she's been right with more than like a dozen dates. And she was spot on with the March 11th, 2011 prediction of that tsunami and earthquake that hit Japan. That was a 9.1. So if you're going to get something right, get the big one right. That's really showing you something. Not saying that there is going to be some large geologic event in Japan in July, but it is just interesting that we have this ongoing earthquake swarm right here. They are evacuating at least the most nearby island to that swarm location. I saw that headline, the Japanese evacuated that island. Not too many people live there, but they take these things very seriously. They also take these sort of prophecies very seriously. In the East, people have not erased their spiritual traditions, the understanding of the spirit realm and things of this nature. That's not the point of the video, but we've now had a significant increase in earthquake activity with this 6.7. Again, the strongest since May 2nd. And so we are going to do a quick report on what is happening with everything Earth geophysically, the sun, solar activity, because it seems that Earth is finally starting to wake up. You may be asking, wait, hasn't she already been awake? There's been a ton of volcanic activity. Mount Rainier has had like 500 earthquakes in the past few days. That's the biggest earthquake swarm in a long time. True, the Earth is already awake, but as it relates to high magnitude earthquakes, she did take a little bit of a break over the past 2 months. We can look at that by going to our earthevolution.com/energy-analytics portal, where we get a whole bunch of different data feeds on the Earth and on the sun, also on our planets with this model here. And so if we go up to our graphic provided by Volcano Discovery, we see the past 90 days of earthquake activity. And we see that this is our 7.4 Drake's Passage. That's just south of South America, in between South America and Antarctica. It's a big zone. It can have big earthquakes. That was off the coast too, like, subduction zone. Then we see that our earthquake activity cumulatively for the globe has been basically descending since then, and actually going all the way back to that magnitude 7.7 in Burma. So this has been a longer term trend of decreasing seismic activity in terms of the high magnitude earthquakes. We've been having these swarms, which has been a little odd. And I discussed the kind of the difference in the last video. But without getting into that again, we finally, as you can see, kind of broken that trend, because here we had this cumulative magnitude of about a 6.8 or so at the beginning of June, maybe a 6.7. Then this one was slightly lower at about 6.6, and now we're back up. So not a big break. We did not have a magnitude 7 earthquake, but still we were discussing this coronal hole high-speed stream in the last video, and how that was very likely to give us a significant earthquake. I put out an earthquake watch. Those of you that watched the video, I very clearly said, hey guys, earthquake watch. There's a higher chance of a high magnitude earthquake in the next few days. And well, here's the biggest earthquake in 2 months. So there is something to this. as many of you know. If you're new to the channel, you're just jumping into the live stream, hello and welcome. I'm your host, Stefan Burns, geophysicist, space weatherman, cosmic weatherman even. We're talking about the cosmos a lot more on this channel now and more. If you like the sound of that and how I bring all these things together, Earth geophysics, solar activity, cosmic rhythms, I make these videos almost daily, then please subscribe. We are right now at 350,000 subscribers. The channel's been blowing up, and that's because we do the hard work on this channel. We look at the data. We're not concerned with, like fake news and all this stuff. We just want to see the actual data and do our best to understand these things, and also to look at things from an open perspective and not to close off any single idea because of prior programming, belief structures, whatever. Here we can see this really interesting prominence that is on the sun right now. Just look at that. Really beautiful plasma activity there. And this is also kind of an energy conduit going from the far side straight into this very large sunspot group there, which is currently Earth center and direct. So it's at the edge of this coronal hole, meaning that's probably a little bit more unstable already in terms of the magnetic field dynamics. And then you get this energy coming in from these plasma filaments. And it's possible that we do get a big solar flare today. Now, what is big? That would be like starting off at probably like a moderate M-class flare, and an X-class flare is possible. We could start to really get a ramp up in solar flaring anytime now. We've been waiting. There are plenty of sunspots on the sun, as you can see. Again, I kind of go back up and I'll just turn myself off, and boom, you can see that there's quite a lot of activity on the sun at this moment in time. And we can look at our sunspots also directly with the Earth Analytics portal. So I'll get that pulled up for you. But sunspots right now are, I think they're about 140 maybe. Let me look. Sunspots right now are 142, it looks like. So definitely an increase in the sunspot number. And here we have our current sunspots on the sun right now. Go back to our Earth Analytics portal. Oops, this one. And we see, and I should turn myself back on, I suppose, too. Here we see our sunspots on the sun right now. So that one is right now Earth center and direct. It has about 2 days to go through this zone right there. And that's the biggest sunspot that we currently have on the sun at this moment in time. You can also see the magnetic field of these sunspots. And in fact, we'll go to our big one right here. This is a 2-day magnetogram view, so you see the evolution of these. This sunspot group here has been very active. This is 4140, this is 4136. And so it's mostly a negative polarity core. That's the reds, the oranges, the yellows, some positive polarity nearby, which is green and blue. This one has a more even polarity arrangement, but sometimes these sunspots, which are kind of like one polarity dominant, they sometimes give us like these really sudden and rapid, just like bursts of energy with a big solar flare. So just because it doesn't have the normal arrangement, kind of like this one, it doesn't have the most like polarity mixing and magnetic field, like turbulence, you could say, doesn't mean that it can't all of a sudden give us something big. It's right in that zone. Look at how this one's also grown over the past 48 hours, right? It's also getting quite significant. It's in that strike zone right now as well. Plus, we also have this guy down there. So there are plenty of opportunities for us to get big solar flares in the next 2-3 days. None of these sunspots are gigantic, but you don't necessarily need a gigantic sunspot to get a big solar flare. Now, the biggest solar flares and the biggest coronal mass ejections, typically you get them from really big sunspots. That we do not have on the sun right now, so that probability is very, very low. I'm talking like a Carrington event type deal or a super flare. I would say there's almost no chance of that happening right now, but you never know. This sunspot right there, for example, is still many times the size of the Earth. So the Earth is just this tiny wee little thing in comparison to that sunspot because the sun is just huge. 98.86% of the mass of the solar system is in the sun. So we are all just riding along as the sun is definitely in control, moving us through the cosmos. we'll also, we go to our 304 angstrom view and check this out. Again, this prominence there is very large. So if it stays intact effectively for the next few days, effectively it'll soon be right in this zone, and then it could perhaps destabilize. So this is a possibility. I don't know what the chance of that is, but look at that. I mean, especially near the end of this video, we get that better angle as it's rotating closer in, and you see it's just really thick and dense. It's a big plasma filament. It is higher up in the northern hemisphere, but if it was to launch and maybe a little more directed towards the Earth, that could be a big impact. So I'm not betting on it, but it could happen. It very well could happen. Let's go to our USGS portal and look at this earthquake. We also had a magnitude 5.1 in Spain today. So there has been more than just this 6.7, though that is definitely the star of the show. If we go down to Guatemala, this is showing all the earthquakes for the past week, 4.5. You'll see these earthquakes around Volcán de Agua. We're talking about that. They've been having a significant earthquake swarm in and around these volcanoes, basically right in between Volcán de Agua and then also this volcano here, which is Pacaya, Volcán de Pacaya. So there's a lot of volcanoes in Guatemala. They're often erupting. We don't really know the eruption history on Volcán de Agua, but the biggest earthquakes were closer to this one. So we're seeing a lot of activity with some of these volcanoes, at least seismically. And if we go over to Spain, we can see our magnitude 5.2 right here. And this gave people a bit of a jolt there. Had some subscribers comment on the channel saying, hey, we just felt the shaking in Spain. So magnitude 5.2, not the biggest earthquake, typically won't cause that much damage. Only like older structures and like a brick chimney may come down with a 5.2 if you're right next to the epicenter. But this is about 10 kilometers offshore from the coast of Spain. So by time it hit this town here, they probably did feel that pretty well. And this looks like it's all just salt ponds. So not too many people living there, looks like, which is good. And then we have more salt ponds here. So some good Mediterranean sea salt. That got a rumble and a shake, got imprinted with those energies. Maybe I'll go try to pick some salt up from Spain as a result of that. But this is the biggest earthquake, again, that we've had, this 6.7 right there. At good depth, too. 65.7 kilometers. That's deeper than the oceanic crust is thick. So that's down at the crust mantle boundary, basically. Like probably the asthenosphere, which is a little bit more ductile. So to get a 6.7 in that sort of geologic setting where you already have a little bit more flow and it's a little bit less viscous and brittle, right? Brittle materials are more likely to fault and rupture. That's interesting. It's not like it's never happened, but at that depth, that is certainly interesting. But that does mean that the effects would have been blunted coming to the surface because it had to propagate first through 67 or 66 kilometers roughly of material before expressing itself at the surface. So not too many people on these islands here, and it is, located some distance away from them, and it had to come up from depth. So I can't imagine that there's much concern for this. And also because it was a deep earthquake, very unlikely to have triggered any sort of tsunami warning, or more likely, an actual tsunami. That is most common with very shallow earthquakes that are oceanic and high magnitude. That's kind of the combo. High magnitude earthquake just below the surface can cause a big uplift and drop, and therefore that big wave of water that goes out in all directions very quickly. So a big release of energy, but not in a way that really affects us. So thank you, Mother Earth, for giving us a big earthquake and not in a big hot spot for humans or life or others. That is good news. We can watch, this is a really cool graphic. We can see how the seismic energy propagates out from that magnitude 6.7 and hits the North America seismic network. So this is going all the way across the Pacific Ocean before eventually it hits the seismic network in North America. You can see these waves start to come in, and here we get the main surface waves rippling through like this. And here we really see them hit California, and then we see them hit the rest of the United States. So really nice motion up with that red, and then motion down with the blue. So you're actually getting a displacement of the ground with this energy. With like a microseismic wave, these are very, very minor displacements. We're looking at the vertical displacement here. But with big earthquakes, you know, a lot of people, they'll live through like a magnitude 8, 8.5, 9. You know, people live through those, experience those, and they'll see the actual waves like going down the street towards them. Like the ground itself becomes fluid with that increased energy in it, because sound is effectively making everything vibrate more. You're creating vibration and resonance. And so you can all of a sudden change the properties of something that is normally at rest and not active and excited and vibratory. Once you give it that impulse of energy, this would be seismic energy, so sound waves, it can behave differently. All of a sudden, there's different physics that apply. So people see these waves with really big earthquakes literally like going across the surface of the earth, which is fascinating. And we see this at a small scale, even from Asia, going all the way across the Pacific Ocean. We see that we still register pretty strong vertical displacement up and down from this magnitude 6.7 earthquake. So that is quite wild. Now, what triggered this magnitude 6.7 earthquake? You could argue that it was the coronal hole high-speed stream. So here we have a real-time solar wind, and we can look at that data directly. And this is significant. This is why we are forecasting. It's not like we just put out random forecasts, point on the map, and say, hey, we're going to have something here, and then 99.9% of the time we're wrong, and 1% of the time, 0.1% of the time we're right, and we you know, boast really loudly and thump our chest. I'm not giving specific predictions on where an earthquake is going to occur, when it's going to occur, or the magnitude. That, I think, is technically possible if you get enough data inputs from a variety of sources, and I just don't think we're there yet. But in terms of forecasting larger trends of activity for the Earth based on space weather, I think that is starting to become possible. And that's what we've been doing on the channel, and been doing a pretty good job of it. Track record is not perfect, but it's more wins than losses for sure. A lot more accurate dates of, hey, earthquake watch, boom, we get a high magnitude earthquake. And so if you stick around and just watch consistently, you will learn a lot. I'll teach you how to read this data yourself, so you don't have to wait for a video from me to see what's happening with the Earth, with the sun. That's why I have that earthevolution.com/energy-analytics portal. So you can go there and do this analysis yourself at any time. And then you will also see, you know, the track record across time if you just pay attention. So here we have a real-time solar wind. We see our magnetic field configures, like strength and properties of the solar wind up top, and it got to a very low field strength. Normal is 5 nanotesla. Here it got down to 1. This is back on the 10th of July. And Earth's magnetic field, for reference, is about 23,000 to 67,000 nanotesla, depending where you are on the surface. If you're in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, the magnetic field strength is really low. It's like 23,000 nanotesla. You know, there people are dancing all the time, and the cosmic energies are coming in, and it's a wild place. Now, if you're up in the polar regions, north or south, the field strength is going to be quite a bit stronger. There they see the aurora, because you need a strong magnetic field to generate strong aurora. In general, though, most places on the globe, it's like 40 to 50,000 nanotesla. Well, the solar wind is only 5 nanotesla, average. But Earth's magnetic field decays as it goes outward, so eventually the two meet up, and there's this boundary where there isn't a solar wind magnetic field and there isn't a Earth's magnetic field. It's just the magnetic field at that location. If it gets stronger, the solar wind magnetic field, the magnetopause, as it's called, gets pushed in closer to Earth. Or if Earth's magnetic field somehow got stronger, it would push further out away from the planet. Here we see this region in front of the high-speed stream of higher density. See, the density goes up a little bit there, but it about tripled this field strength at one point, going up to 13, 14 at times, even maybe 15. I think we see 14 right there. So nearly tripled in strength, over 5 nanotesla. And this in general increase our geomagnetic volatility. So the field swings at Earth's surface started to go up, bigger drops, bigger increases. The normal diurnal variation that we get daily is about 40 nanotesla on top of, the Earth's total field strength. Whereas these field swings can be 400 nanotesla, like that. So a good analogy or a metaphor for you to think of as it relates to Earth's magnetic field is that Earth's magnetic field, the static magnetic field, is like the ocean. And so the ocean, of course, is very, very deep. That's that 50,000 nanotesla. And then the diurnal variation, that 24-hour variation created by sunlight as the Earth rotates in view of the sun, it generates these ionospheric currents that generates a magnetic pulse up or down. That's about 50 nanotesla. So 50,000 nanotesla, 50 nanotesla. That's 1/1000th the strength. So that's like a wave on the surface of a really deep ocean, okay? If you have 10,000 feet of water, that's a 10-foot wave. That's a good scaling to think of. And then a geomagnetic storm would be maybe like a 100-foot wave, like a big wave, like really stormy waters. But of course, most of the ocean is still unperturbed down below. And then things like the Schumann resonances, which are at picotesla strength, is like a ripple, like an almost imperceptible ripple on top of a normal wave or on the surface of the ocean. So we see that the solar wind strength went up, the geomagnetic volatility went up. Here's our 3 hours of G1 storming there with a 4.67 kp index. We see our solar wind velocity, that got all the way up to 700 kilometers per second. That's that high-speed stream impact. And what's characteristic of these coronal hole high-speed stream impacts is A, the solar wind velocity is faster, and B, the density is lower. So we see that our density started dropping to these levels that are very, very low, under 1 particle per cubic centimeter at times. Down here, look at this, even down to like 0.1. So very, very low values. And we see that also occurred right here. We're still having very low density, even though the stream is now dying out and it's settling out probably around 530 kilometers per second or so. And that earthquake ruptured at 550 UTC. So we can go to 550 universal time and see what our density was. Let's actually punch in on it specifically, get that exact measurement for you folks. And we'll have to go back here. So it should be right around at 550 exactly. Our density was 0.47. But look at how we had a whole bunch of low density right before that. So based on my observations, it seems that when the solar wind density gets very low, it almost pulls energy out of the Earth. And we see plasma emissions from earthquakes at times. You see pre-earthquake and peri-earthquake electromagnetic signals in a variety of frequencies. And so it does appear that there's some sort of plasma phenomena that's occurring within our planet that we're just starting to come to awareness of. And when the solar wind density is very low, so effectively the plasma density around our Earth, the entire Earth, the plasma density around the entire Earth is almost like a vacuum, right? Almost nothing that seems to just pull plasma out of the Earth. And the movement of that plasma, hypothetically, could cause, over a fault, could cause it to rupture and release. So that's the idea. And it makes sense to me. I think that's going to get proven with time. We'll just have to wait and see. But I really do think that's going to be confirmed in my lifetime, absolutely in my lifetime, if that is a thing. So that's what's been happening over the past few days. We've had this coronal hole high-speed stream impact, and we had now this magnitude 6.7, and that does not mean that we are done with earthquakes. We could get more significant earthquakes in the days ahead. That is very, very possible. Now, switching gears, let's talk about Mount Rainier. We've been covering this. This is a historic earthquake swarm at the largest stratovolcano in, I believe it's the largest one in the entire continental US. I could be wrong. There's big volcanoes in Alaska, but if we're just talking about the lower 48, I'm pretty sure Mount Rainier is like the big guy. And you don't want to piss it off. Or rather, if you go by the Native American name, you don't want to piss her off. So she's known as the Mother of Waters. This is Mount Tacoma. I believe it's Tacoma. Yeah, Tacoma is the original name. Mount Tacoma, Mother of Waters, or Mount Rainier. They both have water in the name effectively, which is interesting. You know, these things, they show themselves at times. Here I've selected all the earthquakes. This is up to date. You notice that we've just had a few new ones in the past 2 hours. There they are right there in red. The past 2 days, we have orange, and all of them over the past 2 weeks in yellow. Click Analyze, set to cumulative number here. Click Plot, boom. Here we have our number. We were at about 25 when this swarm started, and that was already showing an uptick over normal, which is 6 per month. That's the average. According to the USGS, they were getting about 9 to 10 earthquakes per month at Mount Rainier, just all of them small, none of them big. And then this swarm hit. We are now up over 550. As you can see here, we have 500, that are 600. And if you look, this is about 560 or so. So going from 25 to 560, let's just round it up to 550 earthquakes now out at Mount Rainier since the 8th of July. And a lot of those earthquakes came in the first 24 hours, but you see that it's been like a significant swarm since. And we can look at the magnitude across time. We see that we've had 3 earthquakes over magnitude 2. So we have this one right there, 2.3, 2.3, magnitude 2, and then a 2.4 it looks like. I didn't realize we had a higher magnitude earthquake there. So these 4 earthquakes are almost all the energy released from this swarm because of the way earthquake energy scales. Every magnitude up is 32 times more energy. So these are all the lower magnitude earthquakes, still showing though that there's active faulting, rupturing, movement of fluids. Probably not magma at this point, because that would be a bigger earthquake like we're seeing down near Volcán de Agua in Guatemala. That was a 5.7 close to the volcano. That was probably some magma moving under the surface. But they are all happening really close together. A classic volcanic earthquake swarm. And we can see the depth right here. If it plots. Oh yeah, it did plot. And here we see the depth. And we see that it is all fairly close to the surface. So this is measured from ground level. But of course, there's topography to Mount Rainier. So it's all happening right in the surface. This is not 10 kilometers down, 20 kilometers down, anything like that. It's like right there under the caldera. And Mount Rainier is a huge, huge, huge volcano. Let's check it out really quick on Google Earth because Google Earth allows us to kind of go 3D and check it out. And this should be interesting. It's not hard to find from space. There it is. Boom, boom. And a lot of people are watching the swarm very closely. Officials are saying it's nothing to concern yourself with at this point in time. They're probably correct, but you always want to be prepared because if this guy was to go, you wouldn't want to be anywhere nearby. And remember, Mount St. Helens in 1980, that was a big one. So it's not like these things never happen. There are warning signs like big, big earthquake swarms. Next would be deformation near the caldera, maybe increased gas emissions, things like that. But certainly one of those boxes has been checked with this earthquake swarm at Mount Rainier. And they estimate that if this was to explode, the pyroclastic flows would generate lahars that go through this entire region there. So please, if you live in that area, be prepared, be careful, and keep a close eye on your friendly, hopefully friendly giant living in your neighborhood, Mount Tacoma. Let's call it Tacoma. Why not call it the original name? Why not respect the native people and peoples of North America? Because we have to carry on their legacy. Because anyone born in North America is now one of the native people here. So that is the update for today. July 14th, and we've had a big magnitude 6.7 earthquake. We may very well have more. That is possible. So if you'd like to stay up to date, I will keep you up to date. Just subscribe to the channel. And also yesterday I let people know that I had the herbal teas back in stock, all the herbal teas back in stock. And a lot of you went nuts and bought a whole bunch of the herbal teas, which is great. So we are packing and shipping these orders right now. So if you didn't catch, so if you did not catch yesterday's live stream, and you were wondering what the heck I'm talking about, I've been in the middle of transitioning the old website to a new website, and there's some issues that we're still working through. So there's other things eventually I'm going to offer. It's been just a tremendous amount of work that I've been doing over the past 2 months and actually 2 years now. But we do have all the tea blends in stock. So we have spirituality, great for dreaming, better sleep, meditation, yoga, even astral projection. We have fruit tea, which is a fantastic tea to drink at night to cure your sweet tooth, but really good for your immunity. An excellent iced tea for the summer. It's basically like drinking fruit punch without the calories, and it's super good for you. So this stuff is awesome. Fruit tea is like the best. We have a ton in stock. We mixed up a big batch. We have the Vitality, which is good for your hormones. It's a natural aphrodisiac for men and women for hormone balance. It's really good due to the ashwagandha. That's an excellent blend to actually use with the fruit tea. So, because this one has some more of these roots in it and vines. It's not bad tasting. It has rose petals as well, hibiscus and damiana. But you add it to the fruit tea and it's like nectar of the gods, ambrosia. Then we also have Tranquility. This is like the best general purpose tea blend that you can find. Dandelion root, chamomile, lemongrass, lavender, and then also calendula. I believe it's calendula. Yeah, calendula, or in German, Ringelblume, which is a fantastic tea blend for your gut, your microbiome, help you rest, relax, de-stress. Just turn your sympathetic nervous system off to really feel a bit more embodied and calm and grounded, centered. We also have the electricity to kind of get you pumped up, but really to get those brain cells popping because of the yerba mate with the caffeine, not too much, but then also ginkgo, lemongrass, and we also have orange peel in there for flavor. And what's the other one? There's one other ingredient. The peppermint. So really, really tasty. A little bit of zing, but not too much. And it's a great iced tea, especially during the summer. And then we have herb coffee, which is 50% coffee, so therefore it's half calf. But it's the best coffee, basically. Shade grown, single origin Peruvian, medium roast, with then also chicory root, dandelion root, lion's mane mushroom. So, I mean, we drink this every single day at my house. My dad's in love with this stuff. It's great. It's also, by the way, good to drink for parasites, which most people have on the planet. Like almost everyone, if you didn't know, actually has these little things crawling around in you, and we just don't want to admit it. That's the thing. So the dandelion root, the chicory root, both of those are in general like kind of a gentle anti-parasitic. It just makes the environment less livable. And they're really good for your gut, your digestive lining, for increasing like mucosal secretions and improving the motility of your gut, so therefore the flow of food and nutrients. So coffee can kind of throw your gut health off. Though there are a lot of health benefits to coffee. For example, people are less likely to come down with Alzheimer's or Parkinson's if they drink coffee regularly. But adding in the chicory root and the dandelion makes it less like, you're running to the bathroom and more like, oh, this is actually improving my gut health while I'm still also drinking my morning cup of joe. I have some herb coffee right here, and this stuff is fantastic, and it really boosts your creativity and productivity. I drink it in the morning, but because it is half calf, you can drink it also in the afternoon and you'll be fine. So this is excellent. All of them are on the website. I encourage you to go check them out. This is www.earthevolution.com/store. We will ship that out to you as soon as possible. Crystals are also in stock, and there is also artwork there that you can put up in your wall, which is it's earth artwork, made soil art, and these are canvas prints, so you can check those out as well. Really excellent energy to those if you want something to help improve the feng shui of your space. So thank you all so much for watching. Wishing all of you well. Again, I've been your host, Stefan Burns, geophysicist, space weatherman, and more. Thank you for all your support. We are now at 350,000 subscribers. It's going to be interesting to see when we hit 400, 500, and beyond. So if you want to jump on the spaceship, then hit that subscribe button. If you want to catch the live streams when they happen, then hit that notification bell. It's just on the main channel page. And I'm also going to be releasing more videos for channel members. So I do almost all my broadcasts for free on the channel. but I'm going to do more membership only videos as well. Just little things. If you're a public subscriber, you're not a member, you're not going to miss out. But if you want to get even a little bit more info and into different subjects like ancient history and stuff, then make sure you sign up as a channel member. All the channel members will get access to those videos. Wishing all of you well. Please take care of yourselves. Wishing you a great Monday or Moon Day, and I'll be back with another presentation soon. And just FYI, I am traveling on the 16th, so I won't be able to do any sort of broadcast on the 16th. I may have a video that I post on the 16th, but I'm totally traveling busy on the 16th and probably tomorrow as well. Thank you all so much. See you soon.